I understand that my guest, Dick Morris, is now on the line. Dick, how you doing?
Good. It's good to be here. How are you?
Good. It's nice to have you on my show. So let me pick your brain a little bit, talk a little politics of what's going on in the Republican Party, because I know you follow it very closely, and I wish you luck with your book. I mentioned it just before you came on. I was at CPAC. I don't know if you were. I didn't see you there. I don't know if you were there or not.
Right.
But you could, when I was down there, I mean, you can certainly almost draw a line between the conservative wing of the party that maybe is the Mitt Romney, everybody, a lot of the other cookie cutter standard names, and then the libertarian wing, the Ron Paul, Gary Johnson wing. And I still think maybe I would figure that the CPAC split maybe 70% conservative Republicans, 30% libertarian Republicans. How do you see that battle developing within the Republican Party, and how might it play out in presidential politics?
Well, I strongly oppose Ron Paul. I think he's horrific. He wants to end the war on drugs. He wants us to end the war on terror.
Do you think we're winning the war on drugs?
No, because we're not fighting it.
We're not fighting it. We don't have enough we don't have enough laws against drugs. I mean,
we should drug test every high school student. We should drug test everybody that gets a student loan. Anybody that gets that is using drugs should not get a government student loan.
How about not have student loans at all? That would be a lot better.
No, because I think it's appropriate for people to go to college and to be able to borrow their way there.
But they could go to college a lot cheaper if there weren't student loans. My father went to college here in Connecticut, University of Connecticut. His parents had no money. He waited tables and he was able to pay his tuition.
Peter, I'd like to talk about my book, which is Revolt: How to Defeat Obama and Repeal His Socialist Agenda, because that's really what I'm focused on.
Right, but I think part of that socialist agenda is this perpetuating the educational bureaucracy through the use of student loans that jacks up the cost of college and enslaves our kids into a lifetime of debt just to prop up an educational bureaucracy. So I think if you really want to defeat some of these socialist policies, we might start with education.
You know what, Peter? You talk to yourself for the next 15 minutes. That seems to me what you want to do. Bye-bye.
Oh, so you don't want to stay on the show? All right, anyway, I thought I would have an interesting discussion with Dick Morris. Apparently, if somebody doesn't 100% agree with what he has to say. So you know what? I'm going to argue with what he said before he even said it. He came right out and he says that we need to drug test every high school citizen. So he wants to turn our high schools, our public high schools, into what? What kind of police state does Dick Morris really want to turn this country into? It's really not a war on drugs. It's a war on civil liberties. It's a war on individual freedom. Look, anything the government declares war on, it loses. We declared war on drugs, and we have more drug use. We declared war on poverty, and we have more poverty. Dick Morris wants to come on here and promote his book. All right, he wants to promote his book. Why should anybody read his book? I wonder what he's got a book that's titled "How We're Going to Defeat Obama's Socialism." With what? With his brand of socialism? Does he want to go back to the George Bush socialism? When I was running for the Senate, he endorsed Linda McMahon early on in the primary. Before we even had it, he went out because I think Linda put him on the payroll. I don't know what happened, but does he really think that Linda McMahon was the way to defeat President Obama's socialism more so than me? And now he's saying that he's really anti-Ron Paul because he wants to end the war on drugs or the war on terror. He wants to liberate the American economy. He wants to end the government squandering our money. Anyway, I'll be back without Dick Morris after this break, so don't go away. You're listening to Peter Schiff on SchiffRadio.com. Welcome back. This is the Peter Schiff Show, not the Dick Morris Show. We are not here to provide commercial time for my guests to promote their books. I'm certainly happy to promote the books of anybody who appears on my show. But, if you're going to come on my show, if you're going to insult Ron Paul, if you're going to say something, be prepared to defend your position. Don't think I'm just going to give you a free forum to promote your book. And that goes in the future. If somebody wants to be on my show, know that they're going to have an argument if they say something that I disagree with. But yes, in exchange for which, I'll happy to mention that you have a book, although I don't know why anybody would want to read that book, given what he just said. Think about this. Think about what Dick Morris just said. He wants the U.S. government to drug test every high school student. Or did he say high school, or would it be junior high school too? Now, what are we going to do? Are we going to have a U.S. federal drug agent at every high school, at every junior high school? How often are we going to test the kids? Every day? Every week? Every month? I mean, are we going to test them at the school? Are we going to test their parents? Are we going to drug test the teachers? He wants to drug test every college student who gets a government loan. How much is that going to cost? At every university? And again, how often do we test them? Do we test them once a year? Well, it doesn't make any sense. So do we test them once a week? Every day? You know, what is that going to cost? I mean, and don't you think there'll be fraud there? Don't you think people, they'll be selling urine samples or different ways to pass these tests? And why are we just drug testing guys that get student loans? How about we drug test everybody on welfare? Everybody on food stamps? Let's drug test everybody on Social Security. Hey, let's drug test the entire country. Anybody, if it's the same rationale. Hey, if somebody gets a tax refund, let's drug test them. Hey, you know, how much is this going to cost? I mean, so we're supposed to end Obama's socialism and replace it with the Dick Morris totalitarianism? I mean, come on, give me a break. He wants to up the ante on the war on drugs, the war on terror, the war on civil liberties. He wants to take this country and pound it into the ground. Oh, my gosh. Now, I wish Dick Morris was actually here to defend his asinine statements and point of view on turning the United States into a complete totalitarian police state, and somehow that's preferable to what Obama wants to do. You got me. Anyway, let me go to the calls. We got a lot of callers online. First is Darren calling from Temecula, California. Darren, you're on with Peter Schiff.
Hey, Peter, how you doing?
Good, how are you?
Dick's really living up to his first name today, isn't he? We need to Google bomb that guy and just boycott his book. What a jerk.
Yeah, you know, as I said, when he endorsed Linda McMahon, I mean, I knew that he was, you know, I mean, he went out and endorsed her and talked about how great she was. I was sitting in the audience. It was a big fundraising dinner. It was non-political, but all the candidates were there, and all he did was talk about how great Linda McMahon was. You know, I got nothing against Linda McMahon, but I certainly think that I was a better Senate candidate. But go ahead.
I guess Dick thinks that prohibition was real successful.
He must. I mean, he actually said to me, he said, the reason we're not winning the war on drugs, because he admitted that we're losing it, right? And he said we're losing it because we're not fighting it hard enough. You know, we just need more troops. We just need to spend more money. We just need to up the ante, and then we'd win.
Right. You know, CNBC's playing an interesting clip into one of their commercial lead-ins of Milton Friedman talking to Phil Donahue. Mm-hmm. And you know, and that's really interesting. People should try to Google that and listen to it. But I was thinking this morning
Milton Friedman,
about
he would have been in favor, I think he was, of legalizing drugs.